A very good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagrati Classes. So we were doing chapter 14th of class 9th, which is natural resources. And in this, we have started with that topic, biogeochemical cycles. So I have already explained you in my previous video lecture, what do you mean by the term biogeochemical cycle? And then you have 4 different types of biogeochemical cycles in your syllabus. So the first one we have already discussed, it was the hydrological cycle. Okay, no type of hydrological cycle is in your books. Yes, the water cycle is only known as the hydrological cycle. So we have discussed the first cycle, which was water cycle. Water cycle, I know you all have known from your junior classes too. So nothing was new in it. Okay, the next cycle which we discussed was oxygen cycle. So likewise, we discussed water cycle and oxygen cycle. Now you have 2 more cycles to be discussed. The first one is nitrogen cycle and the next one would be your carbon cycle. So these 2 cycles are very important. As I told you, you have to learn this cycle. So now it is seeming very complicated that where the arrows are going and what processes are taking place. But trust me, once you know the concept, then you can draw and memorize the cycle also very easily. And once you have understood, you can write what is happening in this cycle, that is what are the different processes which are taking place in the cycle. So these cycles are very easy to learn, okay. But if you try to cram them up or mug them up without understanding, then you will find a lot of difficulty and there are many chances that you will make mistakes in drawing the cycle. You will remember the names that on the top you have to write nitrogen in atmosphere, then you have to write protoplasm animals, but the mistake is made in putting these arrows, okay, like the ammonia, here you have ammonia and here you have nitrites. The arrow is, that is ammonia is always converted to nitrites. But in the exams, if you just cram up and if you do not learn the cycle, then you might make the arrow to be in the reverse manner. And this would deduct your marks because this is a wrong process. So please do not try to learn or cram the cycles without understanding them, okay? Understand the concepts because then you will find it very easy and very interesting to learn. So let's start our today's class. This class is for class 9 students and we are doing the last chapter in science, which is chapter 14, natural resources. And this chapter is for your internal assessments only, okay? So now, as you can see in the diagram about nitrogen cycle is given. So nitrogen is very abundant, okay? This is a diagram from your NCERT textbooks. So we'll be writing the important points of this. So we are starting with nitrogen cycle. The first point is nitrogen. Nitrogen is usually present in our atmosphere, in our surroundings, in its elemental form. So nitrogen is the most abundant gas. Nitrogen is approximately 78% in amount in our atmosphere. Then the next important is, despite its so higher amount, this nitrogen, because it is present, nitrogen is present in elemental form. Elemental form means in the form of N2 gas in the air, okay? And this elemental form and this N2 can't be directly used by the living organisms. So we have very high amount of nitrogen in our air, and this nitrogen, it is formed in elemental form in our surrounding air, that is in the form of N2 gas. But what is the disadvantage is this N2 cannot be directly used by the living organism. So you can imagine that why do living organisms need to use nitrogen? We are using oxygen for carbon dioxide. We are using oxygen for respiration, Okay, and during respiration you are releasing out the carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is being used by the plants. We have discussed all these processes in our previous oxygen cycle. So, but what is the requirement of nitrogen? So, living organisms use nitrogen because in living organisms you have living organisms require nitrogen. They need nitrogen for their survival. So, in what ways do living organisms require nitrogen, or what are the uses of nitrogen? So, many of the biomolecules or the biochemical compounds like vitamins, proteins, okay, then you have the nucleic acids, which are your RNA and DNA. All these are made up of nitrogen. So this is the first point, that is vitamins, proteins, nucleic acid, they contain nitrogen in them. Therefore, these are very important for the survival of organisms, and in turn nitrogen becomes very important for an organism's survival. But the problem is, all living organisms require nitrogen to carry out various important life processes. But this nitrogen they cannot directly take from the environment. Likewise, we humans are taking, or the other living organisms, they are taking directly the oxygen gas and they are releasing the carbon dioxide gas back. So this is quite easy, that because we require oxygen, we can inhale oxygen. But likewise, we cannot inhale this nitrogen. And the same reason goes with plants. Plants require nitrogen, okay? Nitrogen which is present in the soil, it also increases the fertility of the soil. So this nitrogen, you can say, like artificial compounds or synthetic compounds which contain nitrogen are, you have many nitrogen containing compounds. Like for example, you can say urea. And this urea, it contains nitrogen, and this urea is used as a fertilizer, that is to increase the fertility of soil. That means you can say this nitrogen, it helps to enhance the soil fertility. And when the soil would be more fertile, then higher quality plants and large number of plants can be grown on such type of soil. So this nitrogen is used for making urea, and this urea is of immense importance because it is used for increasing the fertility of soil. Then nitrogen is also present in certain alkaloid compounds. Alkaloids are again the chemical compounds. So these are some of the compounds which are of great use, and these can only be made when you have available nitrogen. But the problem is again the same, that this nitrogen is not used directly by the humans and animals and by the plants also. Like the plants are taking the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis through their stomata, but they are not able to take this nitrogen directly from air. So for this purpose, we have a process, that is nitrogen fixation. So to use the available nitrogen in the air, the process is called as nitrogen fixation. Now what is this nitrogen fixation? How we are fixing nitrogen? So fixing nitrogen does not mean you are packing nitrogen gas in some sort of cylinder or a container, no. Nitrogen fixation is a process in which this elemental or this atmospheric nitrogen, which is N2 gas, it is being converted to the form in which can be used by the plants and animals. So nitrogen fixation, it is a process of conversion. It is a process of conversion of nitrogen from its gaseous elemental form, which is N2, okay, into useful nitrogen compounds, which are, for example, nitrites and nitrates, and nitrite, nitrates, etc. There are many compounds. So process of conversion of nitrogen from its gaseous elemental form into useful nitrogenous compounds like nitrates, nitrites, which can be directly used by living organisms, by both plants and animals. Okay, in short, let's just write plant here, which can be directly used by plants and other organisms. So this is the process of nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation is a process in which the living organisms can use nitrogen because it has been converted into some absorbable forms or into the useful forms, and the useful forms are nitrate, nitrites and such compounds. So how this now you know the process of nitrogen fixation. So what are the agents or what are the different ways in which this conversion can occur? So you have different ways to fix nitrogen. Okay, so we'll be seeing what are the different ways by which nitrogen fixation can occur. So the first way by which nitrogen fixation can occur is the biological nitrogen fixation. Biological nitrogen fixation means when biotic or the living organisms are used for converting nitrogen into nitrite and nitrates. This is known as biological nitrogen fixation. So biological means biotic or living organisms. So in this process, when living organisms are used to convert this nitrogen into useful forms, which is nitrite and nitrates. So this is called as biological nitrogen fixation. Now the most common living organism which is used, I think you have heard this name in your junior classes, the Rhizobium bacteria. So Rhizobium bacteria is used for biological nitrogen fixation. Okay. It is the scientific name, so we'll be underlining it. So Rhizobium is a kind of bacteria which is used for biological nitrogen fixation. And generally, the plants, this Rhizobium bacteria, and there are many other bacteria, okay? So when living organisms are used for nitrogen fixation, then you call it to be biological nitrogen fixation. And then you can have two different categories of living organism. Some of the bacteria can be free in nature, or they can be, the other bacteria are associated, other species used in nitrogen fixation are associated with roots of higher plants, roots of many dicot plants. So you have the two categories of living organism, the two types. One would be which occur freely in the nature in the soil, or the other bacteria which are associated or connected with the plant roots. So Rhizobium is a bacteria, and generally nitrogen fixation occurs in a certain category, that is leguminous plants. Because in leguminous plants you have these Rhizobium bacteria. So let's study and account that how these Rhizobium bacteria are able to fix nitrogen. So what we have is, you have Rhizobium bacteria. These Rhizobium bacteria, they are present in the root nodules of leguminous plants, of legumes. Legumes, for example, the pea plant is a leguminous plant. So what happens is, let's suppose this is a pea plant, okay? And the roots of pea plant, they have swollen structures in between. In this manner, the roots of pea plant have swollen or bag-like structures like this. So this sort of structures are present in the roots of pea plant, and these swollen structures, swollen parts of the roots, these are known as nodules. Okay? So nodules, you can call it to be the swollen structures or the bag-like structures present in the pea plant. And inside these swollen structures, you have the presence of rhizobium bacteria. So these are the rhizobium bacteria present inside the root nodules of pea plant. And these rhizobium bacteria, they are able to absorb the atmospheric nitrogen. So these rhizobium bacteria, the nitrogen which is present in the air, they intake this nitrogen. I told you, nitrogen cannot be used directly as such in its elemental form by plants and animals. But these rhizobium bacteria, they have the capacity to use nitrogen directly from the air. Okay, so what they do is they use the nitrogen from the air and then they convert this nitrogen into nitrite and nitrate. So they convert them into nitrite and nitrates, and this nitrite and nitrates, these are mixed in the soil. And what they do is, then from the soil the plant can absorb this nitrogen. So let's see in the cycle now. Now we have that the nitrogen which was present in the air, it has been absorbed by the green plants, and you know the process here is nitrogen fixation. So, okay. So here the rhizobium bacteria helps in fixing nitrogen, and because the living component is fixing nitrogen, it is called as biological nitrogen fixation. And now this nitrogen is absorbed by the plants. You have one more process of nitrogen fixation. It is called as biological, we have already done. That is nitrogen fixation by lightning. So whenever lightning occurs in the environment, so this lightning, it creates mixing of, it creates high pressure, okay, in the environment. Lightning creates a very high pressure in the environment, due to which the nitrogen molecules, the N2 gaseous molecules which are present in the environment, these are forced to get mixed up with the oxygen molecules present in the environment. And because when this nitrogen and oxygen mix together, there is the formation of oxides of nitrogen. Whenever oxygen reacts with any other chemical component, then oxides of that chemical component is formed. So when nitrogen and oxygen, during lightning, these molecules which are randomly moving in the environment, these are high pressure is being created, and these nitrogen oxygen molecules are forced to get mixed up, and due to their mixing, oxides of nitrogen are formed. And oxides of nitrogen are what? These are nitrates and nitrites. And when oxides of nitrogen, for example nitrates and nitrites are formed, now these nitrates and nitrites, they get mixed up with the rainwater. And when these nitrate and nitrites, they mix up with the rainwater, then you have the formation of dilute acids. For example, you have the formation of HNO3, which is nitric acid, and many other acids. Okay. So firstly, nitrogen and oxygen mix together to form oxides of nitrogen. Now oxides of nitrogen come down with the rainwater. So because the quantity of rainwater is very high compared to the oxides, so here, due to the reaction of oxides with the water, which is the rainwater, acids are formed. And these acids are very dilute, so they do not cause any harm. Okay, so dilute acids, because here the quantity of water is very excess, very high. So dilute acids are formed, for example nitric acid, and when this rainwater, they come in soil, it means the nitrogen in the form of acids dissolved in the soil, And this nitrogen in the soil is now taken up by the plants. So this is a way in which nitrogen is being fixed, okay? This is now in the form of nitrate and nitrites, not elemental nitrogen form. So this is again a method for nitrogen fixation by lightning. Now, after this theory, see, nitrogen was present in the atmosphere. You had the process of nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation can occur by, there are three ways. The first one is biological nitrogen fixation. Then the next one is by lightning. And the third one is, the third arrow is going here, the industrial nitrogen fixation. So when nitrogen in atmosphere, it undergoes nitrogen fixation, then the plants, they now contain nitrogen. When the animals eat the plants, so the nitrogen from the green plants come to the animals. And when these green plants and animals die, then they mix up with the soil. And some of the animals also excrete nitrogenous waste in the form of ammonia, okay? For example, you can say lower organisms, because this ammonia is also excreted by lower organism as a nitrogenous waste. And this when the green plants, they convert their nitrate and nitrites into ammonia, this process is called ammonification. So ammonification is the process of formation of ammonia. Now what happens is, when these plants and animals die, then there are some bacteria which are present in the soil, which again break these ammonia back into nitrites and nitrates. Okay, and when these nitrates and nitrites, now you have another category of bacteria present, which again break these nitrates and nitrites into the elemental nitrogen form. And when nitrate nitrites are broken down, that is when the nitrite and nitrates are converted back to nitrogen, this process is called denitrification, okay? And nitrification is what? Nitrification is conversion of nitrogen. You can say that you have two processes. When the nitrogen is converted to nitrite and nitrates, the process is called nitrification. Fication means synthesis, and nitri means nitrates and nitrites. So when nitrates and nitrites are synthesized, the process is nitrification. And this reverse process of formation of nitrogen again from nitrates and nitrites, this process is called denitrification. Okay, I hope this is clear. So now, when from the ammonia, then you have the formation of nitrites and nitrates, and again when nitrogen is formed, it is called denitrification. And then the third process is nitrification or nitrogen fixation by industrial process. So I hope now this cycle is clear. That is, nitrogen present in atmosphere, it is undergoing a process called nitrogen fixation, which I explained you, and this nitrogen reaches in green plants. When animals eat these plants, the nitrogen comes to animals. Now animals and plants, they also make ammonia, which is again a nitrogenous compound. The formula for ammonia is NH3. The formation of ammonia is called as ammonification process. Now when the plant and animal die, then there are certain bacteria which the plant and animal contain nitrite and nitrates. So when the plant and animal die and they mix up in the soil, then there are certain bacteria present in the soil which convert these nitrite and nitrates back into nitrogen. And these bacteria are called denitrifying bacteria, and the process is known as denitrification. Whereas the process in which nitrogen is converted into nitrites, it is called nitrification, and nitrification process is done by nitrifying bacteria. So I have already written you, and this completes your nitrogen cycle. I have already written the process of nitrification and denitrification. If you are asked what are the bacteria which perform denitrification, so the bacteria are known as denitrifying bacteria. I hope this is clear. So we'll be moving on to the next cycle, which is a carbon cycle. So you see carbon is present in our atmosphere in the form of CO2. Then carbon is present, this is present in the atmosphere in free form. Not in free, this is a combined form of carbon. Okay, combined form which is present in air. Then carbon is also present in the form of carbonates and hydrogen carbonates. So this is again a combined form which is present in the Earth's crust. So carbon is found in a variety of forms. Let's see how this carbon gets cycled in nature. So this carbon dioxide which is present in atmosphere, it is used up by the plants, and plants use this carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis. So here you have the process of photosynthesis, and when carbon dioxide and water are used in photosynthesis, then you have the formation of organic compounds. This organic compound is your glucose, which is the plant food. So once this plant, okay, now you have the plant food formed, and then the plants again return back this carbon dioxide into atmosphere when they perform the process of respiration. Yes, I've told you in life processes chapter that plants also, okay, you should know that plants, they perform both the process, photosynthesis and respiration. So when plants perform photosynthesis, they use carbon dioxide, and when they perform respiration, they release carbon dioxide back in atmosphere. So I hope this circle is clear. Now when animals will eat these plants, so the organic compound will go in animals, and then again when the animals will undergo the process of respiration and decomposition, they would again release carbon dioxide. I hope the arrows are clear, okay? Listen carefully. So plants and animals use carbon dioxide. Plants use CO2 for photosynthesis. They release CO2 when they do respiration. When the plants are eaten by animals, then this carbon dioxide reaches the animals in the form of organic compounds. Okay? It reaches animals in the form of organic compounds. And when the animals perform respiration, they release the carbon dioxide back in atmosphere. Now next is what? This carbon dioxide, it can also be used by certain marine organisms. That is, it can be dissolved in water, and when the carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, then you have the formation of carbonates. So how carbonate, this is carbonate, how carbonate is formed? When carbon dioxide reacts with or dissolves in water, then it forms carbonate, and this carbonate then forms the limestone later on. Now this carbonate which is, see, this arrow is also done. Now the organic compounds or the plants, when the plants die, they get converted to coal, and these dead remains of plant also get converted to petroleum. When the animals would die, then these animals would also be converted to petroleum. We all know coal and petroleum are the fossil fuels which are made by dead remains of plants and animals. Next is what? The organic compounds which are present in animals, these are converted in inorganic carbonate compound form, and that is the organic compounds present in animals. These organic compounds are converted in the inorganic compound. Inorganic is the carbonate, and this carbonate is used for making the shells by marine organisms. So the marine organisms, they use these carbonate to make their shells. So in this way, carbon dioxide is used in various processes and carbon dioxide is released in various processes. As I explained you, now you can write in a language or in the form of points. That is, some processes are there which use carbon dioxide. Like plants use carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, and they release back carbon dioxide during respiration. Animals use carbon dioxide when they eat, they release when they do respiration, and when they eat plants, this carbon dioxide comes in animals' bodies. Now when the animal and plant die, they get converted to coal and petroleum. Some carbon dioxide is dissolved in water to form carbonate, and this carbonate is used for making limestone. This carbonate can also be used for making shells of marine organisms. So this is the carbon cycle which you have to write. Now the next topic before ozone hole, you have certain short topics, okay? So now we'll be doing, I think, yes. So we'll be doing now the remaining topics in our next class. So today we have discussed nitrogen cycle and carbon cycle. Now you have very short topics left. The first one would be, the topic would be greenhouse effect. What do you mean by a greenhouse? Why greenhouses were constructed? Initially, what was the use of greenhouse? And then we'll be seeing that what is greenhouse effect? And this greenhouse effect, it is causing a very devastating, harmful effect which is called global warming. So after greenhouse effect, we'll be discussing the topic of global warming. What are the conditions, how global warming is being caused, and what are the conditions, what are the steps which we can take to prevent the harmful effects of global warming. And then we'll be seeing the last topic, which you have been given the figure in your box, which is ozone hole. So we'll be seeing what is ozone layer, why it is called ozone, is it poisonous, is it good for us, or is it harmful, what are the functions, and now what is the concerning picture which you have been shown in your books. Okay, why we are studying ozone? Because this ozone layer is being depleting day by day, and a hole is being created. Not a hole actually, the ozone layer has got thin from certain regions, and then you call it to be hole. Because if in actual conditions the hole would be created, then it would be very harmful for us, because ozone has the basic function of protecting us from the harmful radiations from the UV rays coming from sun. And if actually we'll have a hole created in ozone, then the harmful rays would penetrate the earth and reach us. And when these harmful UV rays would reach us, they would cause many devastating effects on our health. So this is a very concerning problem, which is ozone hole. So scientists have provided many steps which you can take. Yes, we can take many steps to prevent the formation of hole in our ozone layer. And with this, we'll be completing our chapter. But I hope you have understood the carbon cycle and you can easily write it down, and the nitrogen cycle which we discussed. Okay, so one more class we'll be needing to complete our chapter, and this would complete your course too. So till then, stay home, stay safe, keep studying, keep following us, and if you have any sort of queries and related doubts, you can contact us anytime. Thank you, students.